want to have a conversation with you all about relentless tenacity and the true meaning of that and its correlation to business success. We all want to set ourselves apart in business and really get into the nitty gritty of adding value in the entrepreneurial space. However, the question is, how high is your entrepreneurial drive to succeed? How confident are you in your vision to succeed? And how determined are you to eliminate the detractors which are holding you back from obtaining your definition of a prosperous mountain of success? The experience you gain in life can be used as your relentless answer to solving problems and becoming an innovator of solutions and aspirations. And in business, that's all you can ask for. And for my friend Alex Minicucci, he's the quintessential definition of what it means to be relentless. And he says experience matters. For him, after taking his last privately held startup to the Inc. 5000 list as the 66th fastest growing software company in the country, he says he discovered the fatal and fundamental flaw in tech company economics. Alex says that 90% of companies fail because founders are not operators. Yet, investors, in Alex's view, continue to provide these founders with the financial capital they need to operate, expecting them to know how to spend it. And he once again says experience is the key to sustainability. In response, he's created a whole new way to tech company development. They coin it venture advisory, where they provide the infrastructure needed for these tech companies to thrive in exchange for ownership. His mini dream team of pros knows how to build tech companies and eliminate the guesswork and allow the founders to focus on delivering the best products they can for their clients. And Minicucci joined me this week to discuss how the software and tech industry can cultivate better operators to make sure that their business has a chance to thrive in every area of operations. I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. Take a moment, my friend, to welcome you to the program, and I'm super excited to learn all about how you're making a difference in the space of entrepreneurship. Great to see you today, my friend, and thank you for a few minutes.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Yeah, I'm happy to share some thoughts, and thanks for making time, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Now, Alex, you tell me that most business owners fail because business owners are not interested in the operation side of business. So I'm wondering if we can start our conversation by you telling me, why do you think business owners need to be better operators, my friend?
Oh, you know what? You started with the right part of the topic for sure. What I like to, an example I like to make, let's say you love making food. And so you decide to become a chef. Like, it's your passion. You love putting ingredients together. You want them to taste great. You like to feed your friends on the weekends. Your friends come over and you make everybody food. Like, this is something you enjoy doing. That has very, very little to do with running a restaurant. Because running a restaurant, you're picking a location, you're getting insurance, you're hiring and firing people, you're ordering produce. You've got to make sure your machinery stays in proper working order. So what happens is the person who loves making food is now dealing with things that have nothing to do with making food and has everything to do with running a restaurant. So oftentimes in business, you have somebody that's a subject matter expert, passionate about solving a problem, providing a service, or doing something related to a trade or a skill that makes people happy. But usually building a business around providing that thing has very little to do with the thing itself, sadly. And I think most people don't really assess that when they get into the business building part of providing that service. And it's usually a skill set that they haven't even considered or understand or prepared themselves for. So now the chef who loves making food spends all day in the back room trying to hire people, trying to do marketing, trying to do all these other variables, and he's not making food anymore. So he's no longer doing a thing that makes him happy, no longer doing a thing that he's good at, and that's usually a recipe for failure.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Alex, you and I both know that business is all about relationships and building up the confidence in people. And, Alex, outside of hosting this podcast, I work with businesses to help them better infuse individuals with disabilities into the workforce. And it's personal for me, Alex, because I was born with cerebral palsy. So tell me about the importance of trying to take a more inclusive approach to business and the competitive advantage that provides business owners.
Well, I think that you first of all, you learn something from everyone. And I think that there aren't enough people that really understand that is everybody's got a background, experiences, skill sets, opinions, passion. And like you said, relationships really are the cornerstone of building a business. And so it comes down to, finding people that are excited and passionate about the business that you're trying to build. And that comes in every shape, form, gender, color, size. I think it really just comes down to being passionate about what you do, and providing that service for the people who need it, and just trying to create a collaboration and a community around that business. So I think that's absolutely key. And there are some people that get stuck in their lane that don't infuse their business and their community and their customer base with new energy and new thought processes and new perspectives, which really is the lifeblood of staying relevant and staying exciting. So I think that's where the diversity and inclusion really makes a ton of difference in someone's competitive advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. And Alex, I know that you're a big believer in your 50 by 50 mantra, and you're on a mission to help business owners achieve their goals and become millionaires and creating 50 millionaires by the time that you turn 50, my friend. So I'm curious to learn all about the mantra and why it's so important to
you. I've lived a lot of my life with the real belief that money is not the end game, and money can actually be the source of plenty of evil. And there are a lot of people that think that money is the end all be all to happiness and joy, and it really isn't. You've got to learn how to be happy and joyful with nothing. And if you can do that, then money becomes a tool that empowers you to do good. So it can go either way. When I set my goal, my 50 by 50, it's really around aligning myself with the right kinds of people and trying to empower those people to become conduits for more good. So it's about scaling. I can only do so much with the resources I've got and the time and energy I've got to invest in my community and my planet. But if I can create 50 beacons of people that operate with integrity, that operate with inclusion, that care about the people that they work with, care about the communities that they serve, then we can have kind of an exponential effect on good and building out those communities. And so you need the right stewards who are going to hire and take good care of their employees, who are going to care about the service they provide, so it's not junk. They're not scamming people. They're not cutting corners. And so if I can align myself with the right people and empower those, and one of the benchmarks for trying to really articulate that's why creating millionaires is if they have the fiscal resources to build strong, sustainable businesses, then they can pay their people well. They can continue to innovate and build and reinvest in themselves and their employees and their communities. So it's just a metric that I use for strength and sustainability in order to try to kind of proliferate some of my personal values.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Alex, one of the reasons I was excited to talk to you this afternoon, buddy, is because I know that the word relentless has a special place in your heart, my friend. And I have to tell you, it's my belief that you're either working to advance or you're willing to accept mediocrity, my friend. And I know that you come from a humble place of beginning, my friend. So what does the word relentless mean to you? And how does that guide every decision you make in your life, my friend?
You know what? Great question. I like the way you cue that up. When I started this, my recent business, Relentless Venture Studios, I was trying to think what was the one word that really encapsulated what got me to this place in my life through ups and downs. As you mentioned, kind of a humble beginning. I mean, when I was 17, 18, I lived in my car. At 25, I became a full-time single dad. I've made money, I've lost money. And so I tried to think what was the characteristic that most defined getting to where I'm at today, which I've got a great life and I live very well. I've got a great family, and it was relentless. It wasn't genius. I wish I was a genius, but I'm not. It's a little bit lucky. It was a close runner-up, but it was really that spirit of trying to define. I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to settle. I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to keep working hard at this. It was the one characteristic that for myself most defined my ability to get through the ups and downs and what I look for in people I align myself with. I can train skills, but it's hard to train a relentless spirit. And so that relentless spirit is the thing that gets you through those tough times. You're going to have them. They're guaranteed to happen, the ups and downs. And so the relentless spirit, I thought, was the most defining characteristic to getting through all of that.
Yeah, and Alex, how do you define business perseverance, and how do you think it's also connected to life perseverance as well?
It's problem solving. I mean, it's one, you have to expect that you're going to be challenged. You have to expect that expect the unexpected. I hate to use that cliche, but I mean, you're going to have ups and downs. It is a guarantee. And when you think about business, and life perseverance, it's the willingness to confront those challenges, and if at all possible, confront them with a positive spirit and a positive attitude. You think about how many things we do electively that are challenges, like solving a puzzle or playing games. I mean, these are challenges that we decide to do because challenges are interesting. So we get challenges in business, and we get surprised. I can't believe my employee didn't show up today. I can't believe I got a letter from the IRS. Like, what do you mean? This is part of the process of being in business. And so when you just decide, I expect these things to happen. I'm going to confront them with a problem-solving mindset. I'm going to look at them positively as part of my entrepreneurial journey. Then you just sit down and you say, I just got to work the problem. And you just keep working and keep working and working until you find those solutions. And it's the same thing in life, where you're going to have challenges with your spouse, you're going to have challenges with your kids. You're going to have good months and bad months where you make money or you don't. And you look at that in the same way where this is part of life. I expect these challenges, and I'm going to continue to work through them and be a problem solver instead of a victim in those situations.
Yeah, and absolutely. And Alex, I know you help people with making successful exits and business so they can go on to their next venture, my friend. So I'm wondering if you can tell me about the inner workings of what you do every day and why you love what you do, my friend.
Well, most people, if they build a business and are thinking about an exit, it will be probably the only time in their life they do it. So in order to get good at something, you usually have to do it multiple times, right? If you think about the first time you try to, throw a baseball or write or anything, like it's always bad the first time. And so when someone builds a business over a 20-year period, let's say, and is ready for whatever reason to try to have an exit, it's a daunting, scary, unfamiliar place for them. So, with my experience of having had multiple exits under my belt, it's a joy for me to help somebody down that path. That's one of the most meaningful transactions in their life. It often means liquidity and wealth for their families if they do it right. There's risk statistically in trying to get through the process. And so having a guide walk you through something that's that big and that scary is important, and it brings me joy to help somebody get through that process successfully. And what I like to do is get engaged with business owners, particularly software company owners, before they're ready for the exit, so that you can start planning, anticipating, building the process in a way that sets it up for success. So that kind of a whole process there that makes sense and helps achieve everybody's goals.
Yeah, and Alex, what is sort of a checklist that you go through when you're helping someone make a successful business exit, my friend?
Well, I start with setting realistic expectations,
Mhm.
and that usually comes around valuation. What do you think your business is worth, and why? And we look at comps, look at other businesses that have sold, and so you start to do that because that's the number one reset. So I've talked to somebody that says, "I've got a great software business. We're doing $1 million a year in revenue and $250,000 a year in profit, and I want to get 20 million for it." And so I've got to have the conversation that that's not going to happen. Let's talk about being realistic. And so that's the first part, because if you want to get a transaction done, you have to make sure that you're using realistic terms and realistic expectations. So once you're there, then we talk about, all right, well, if I'm a buyer, what are the things that I'm looking for in order to mitigate my risk and add value to my organization? Am I buying it because it's making me money? Am I buying it because it's strategic to something else I own? And so we want to have the business be as clean and organized as possible. So buyers will look at quality of your financials. I see sometimes somebody I'll ask for financials, they don't have them, or they're really really disorganized and inconsistent. And there are red flags that anybody looking at buying a business that has experience doing it will identify quickly. So you've got to make sure your financials are well organized. You've got to make sure your processes are well organized, that your employees and team are well organized. So when you do enter into a conversation about buying it and someone says, all right, I'd like to look under the hood now, that you have the materials ready and that everything is kind of designed in a way where an experienced buyer would say, this person is well organized and I can have confidence that I'm buying something I'm not walking into a mess. So there's a certain amount of prep and a certain amount of expectations that are key to getting that transactions over the line.
Yeah, absolutely. And Alex, this is a question that has a different definition for anybody in business. But I'm curious to get your thoughts on your definition of entrepreneurial courage and what does it mean to you to have courage as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, that's a great question. When I think about entrepreneurial courage, I think entrepreneurs by definition are usually inventing their own path. Like let's use a comparison: buying a franchise. I'm not going to say that buying a franchise doesn't make you entrepreneurial, but you're following a proven roadmap. And so you're really, you're buying yourself your own business. And that doesn't mean you can't build wealth, but it's not quite blazing your own trail. Most entrepreneurs, by definition, are going to see an opportunity and then, kind of go down a path that maybe was not cut before them. And so that's where that entrepreneurial courage of saying, I believe there's an opportunity. I believe in my capabilities or the capabilities of my team to execute on my desire to capitalize on the opportunity, in spite of the fact that I don't have any previous proof or replicatable history. Like, I don't know for a fact that it'll work. If you buy a McDonald's franchise and you put it on the corner, you've got a 99% certainty you're going to make money if you follow the playbook. If I decide that I want to create something brand new that nobody's ever bought before, some widget, take it to market, I don't know that thing is going to perform. And so that is entrepreneurial courage, to have the conviction to go down that path and decide that you're going to invest your time, energy, and money into something that has that degree of uncertainty. But that is where some of the greatest rewards are gained, from having that courage and going down that path.
Yeah, absolutely. And Alex, for every entrepreneur, there's a different breakthrough moment during their sort of rise to success. And I'm curious to get your thoughts on what your breakthrough moment was and how you were able to sustain, so you could experience a sustained level of excellence, my friend. So what was your breakthrough moment in business?
Well, I got started when I was 18. I was living in my car, and I got hired at a telemarketing firm. And at that time, I was very shy and actually did a terrible, terrible job my first day on the job. And so I had a phone and a stack of index cards, and I was told, call these people and try to sell network servers and equipment to them. And I spent the entire day, 8 hours, didn't make a single phone call. I was terrified. I remember shaking and sweating because I was just painfully shy and I couldn't do it. So, but I had an idea. This was back in 95, 96. This internet thing was starting to get popular, and I wanted to create an online Yellow Pages. So I went to the local library, I wrote a 2-page business plan. And the next day I went back and to my boss and said, hey, boss, can we talk? And he says, sure. We'll go in the room. And he says, Alex, I'm sorry, but I've got to fire you. You didn't make a single phone call yesterday. And this is a telemarketing firm. It's just not going to work out. I really like you, but it's not going to work out. And I said, well, before you fire me or before I leave, please take a look at this. And I handed him my 2-page business plan. He said, what's this? And I said, I have an idea for an online Yellow Pages. This internet thing's going to be big, and I'd like you to help me get this started. So he looks it over and says, this is a great idea. What do you need? And I said, I need that desk, that phone, and 150 a week. And I can live on that. We'll be 50-50 partners. So we shake hands. I go back to that desk, and I started my first business. It was called City Beat Directories. And I bought a book and learned how to write code. And then I typed in the entire San Luis Obispo County Yellow Pages, which is where I live in California, and started that business with just an idea. It didn't exist. It was a digital replica of the Yellow Pages, but I got it up and running and making great money within a year. At the end of the year, I had an exit. I sold my half back to my partner and had made some money, and that was the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey. So, my favorite word in the English language is opportunity. And what I've learned is virtually anybody you talk to, if you ask the right questions or have the right awareness, opportunities will open. So I turned a firing into an investor because I knew that person was open-minded, had resources, and liked me. So that was when I learned, when you talk about entrepreneurial courage, that's when I learned I could see opportunities in situations that most people didn't. And I developed some confidence in my ability to execute and actually deliver on the idea and build real value. So that I got started very young and built confidence in my ability to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, and you know, Alex, one of the things that I admire about you, my friend, is that you are someone that doesn't have a lot of time for making excuses in order to secure prosperity in life. So I'm curious to ask you about what it means to you to be a professional problem solver, and why are you so uh, uh, eternally optimistic, my friend? So what's a professional problem solver, and what does it mean to you to be optimistic both in life and in business?
The optimism, I think that probably comes from my grandfather. Really interesting human being, where he loved people, he loved life. He made it 2 months shy of 100 years old. Italian guy, loved drinking wine with his friends, and really just always had a curiosity about things. And so I remember showing him iPhone when they came out, and he just says, "Man, that is neat. I was born too early. Like, you guys have some great gadgets." He wasn't afraid of the evolution of technologies and people, and he was always interested in learning and becoming part of all that. So I think that attitude showed for me what it was like to kind of know and have that optimism moving forward, that things will be okay, that even in challenging moments, you can still learn from those, and that it's just all part of the equation of being alive and being on this planet, and to be grateful for the things you have instead of dwelling on the things you don't, because you will never, if you have that attitude, you will never have everything you think you want. So that optimism was part of what was instilled in me early on, like I said, from my grandfather. And then the problem solving side was just, I think, makes my life interesting. Everything becomes kind of a problem. It reminds me of the movie, the Matt Damon movie, The Martian,
Mm-hmm.
where he's on Mars and his ship breaks, and every day he fixes something, thinks things are going good, and then something goes wrong, and then he fixes it, and then something goes wrong, and he just keeps working the problem until he gets home. And that's how I think about life, and that's how I think about business. Is these things are going to come up. Some of them are really entertaining to try to tackle, some of them less fun, but all of them work your brain. All of them give you a chance to succeed. And I found my most rewarding moments in life have come through some of the most challenging moments. And so when things are really hard or really dire or really emotional, I've always found getting through those tend to be the most satisfying. So it's like a great baseball quote from Babe Ruth, the old home run slugger. He said every time he struck out, he knew he was one more at bat closer to a home run. And so, like, that was an optimistic way to look at striking out. Like, he didn't say, "I failed at my at bat," that I was one step closer to my next win. So when I have a challenging moment, I think I've got to get through that. I'm going to learn and grow from this, and just keep pushing forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And Alex, how good of a cook are you, my friend? Do you like do you like to cook?
I love to cook. I love to cook. I love eating, and you can tell I'm a big boy. And so, cooking is a big part of that. I'm out in California, so we do a lot of barbecue, a lot of grilling. So I'm outside probably 3 days a week doing, ribs or a tri-tip or steaks. But I get it. I get it in the kitchen as well. I do love to cook.
Well, I have to tell you, Alex, I was just in Texas recently for my birthday, and I uh, hit up some good barbecue spots. So we're connected there, my friend. But the reason I asked you about cooking, my friend, is I want your opinion on what do you think are the greatest ingredients to a great business plan?
Oh, I like the tie-in there. Very nice. The greatest ingredients. Well, I think, you know, ideas, they say, are dime a dozen, and I agree with that. I hear a lot of ideas. Execution is the key. And so understanding the elements of your business plan that are required to get to, viability or success. So first you got to decide, all right, I want to sell widgets, provide the service, whatever it is. How would you define a successful business? What are the steps that get you there? Like the actual physical actions that need to happen to get there. And then really looking at people. You mentioned earlier at the very beginning of this podcast how relationships are critical, and I couldn't agree more. And so, if you're going to build a business, you have to comprehend the kind of people you're going to have around to help you execute on that plan. Whether they be mentors, partners, employees, people are critical to your success. So that needs to be thought of and comprehended. That's why when you see many business plans incorporate values and mission, things like that. They kind of feel academic in nature, but what they do is they align the people that are part of your success to be, in alignment with your goals and how you're going to build this business. So those are important elements as well.
Yeah, and Alex, I'm also wondering your thoughts on uh, 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 cultivating leadership in business. And what do you think are some tangible strategies that leaders can use to measure the success or failure of their business or leadership style? What are your thoughts there?
Well, I've always built my business around trying to have fewer people that are better at their jobs. Like, I guess it's kind of Steve Jobs esque, surround yourself with A players and empower them. So I'm not interested in being a micromanager. I actually had somebody years ago I worked with who said, got frustrated one day with this business and said, if I only had 30 of me, this would go fine. And I said, if I had 30 of me, I would go crazy because, I don't need more me. I need people that are better than me, that are different than me. And this goes back to the diversity and inclusion we were talking about earlier. So I don't want a whole bunch of mini me's running around. I want people that are better at their respective crafts. And then my job is to, one, I call myself the glue. I pull these different people together and unite our mission. And two, I provide resources. And three, I remove obstacles. So my job is to make them find the right person for the job and make them better. And that's how I focus my leadership style on my team. Now, with respect to cultivating leadership, trust and respect are key for any leadership role. And as part of that trust and respect, I think you challenge. And that's where great communication and setting goals to continue to push and challenge that leader to go outside their comfort zone and continue to grow and continue to get better. And so we would like to encourage education. We want people to kind of continue to push their boundaries, try to grow. And then when they struggle, you've got to be there to support them and continue to provide those resources and support. And so, but I want my team continuing to grow and getting better. That's part of that relentless spirit.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Alex, just looking at the shelf behind you, my friend, we've got a lot of interesting things behind us. So I'm curious because I'm a huge believer in the power of celebrating life and really celebrating life and all it has to offer. So I'm curious to ask you, my friend, what's the best way that you celebrate life and find reconnect sort of with your inner center, my friend? What does that mean to you?
Well, going back to my grandfather, I love people, and it's great to connect with friends and loved ones, share your wins and your losses with them, and as well as be a resource for them to share with you. So, when I think about celebrating life, my first reaction is just to have people that I love and care about around me. But as I get older and I come out of my shell a little bit, 'cause I was a kind of very introverted young man when I was younger, is I love meeting new people, and I'm enjoying to get to know you on this podcast, and I love an opportunity to engage and meet people from all walks of life and different parts of the world. I don't know, for some reason it energizes me in a really meaningful way. I love hearing people's stories, and I love understanding how diverse this world is in so many different ways that you can live life. And it's so easy to get stuck in kind of your own little box and your own repetition. And learning is living, and you learn when you hear people's stories and you talk to new people and you try new things. So that's a big part of my love for life and celebrating life. I also believe that you have to take a little bit of time for yourself. I do meditate and try to organize my thoughts. And I think the brain is a muscle that you have to work like you would your bicep. And so learning, thinking, mindfulness, quieting your mind in a way that allows you to organize and have clarity in your thoughts is really important to help me better connect with all the other things that I just mentioned. So I do take a little bit of time for that as well.
Yeah, and Alex, I'm also wanting to quickly go back to the conversation we had about business resilience. As a professional speaker myself, Alex, I hear more no's every day than I do yeses, and I always tell people that if you want to be a professional speaker, you've got to sort of have Teflon when the no's come, because if you focus on the no's, you're taking less energy away from a possible yes, my friend. So I'm selfishly curious to ask you, how do you rebound from a no in business?
That was probably one of the hardest skills for me to learn. Going back to my story about the telemarketing, I mean, I was terrified of rejection at 18 years old. I mean, paralyzingly terrified. And it's something where I think through a little bit of experience, you start to realize that a no is not the end of the world. A no is not a brick wall. They say things like sales are, it's a numbers game, and it's really challenging to embody and actually live that. Right? It's when you go, oh, it's a numbers game. You're going to get 9 no's and 1 yes, but every no feels painful, and you don't know if it's going to be 100 no's and then a yes. So it's really, really challenging to have the emotional fortitude to get through that. So I just remind myself that, kind of back to the Babe Ruth quote, like I'm gonna lose a handful, I'm gonna get some no's. That means I'm one step closer to my yes, and I just have to work through the no's until I get there. And it's very hard, but once you have that perspective, and you know that the no's are going to be in the way, but each one is a step closer, then I just work through it, and I just want to get through the no's as fast as possible until I find my yes. I remember I was doing sales, and I spent an hour in a sales meeting, and I didn't want to let this prospect go. We were back and forth, and he knowed me, and I kept fighting for it. And then finally, I gave up. I walked outside, and I remember I was exhausted from trying to close this guy. And then next door, it was like he was in a strip mall or something. Next door was somebody that was an interesting prospect. I walked in the door and said, "Hey, would you have any interest in this service?" And she says, "I was just reading about that. Yes, I'd love to do it." It was a 30-second sale. And so I couldn't embody the numbers game thing more. I'd sit there and fight with something that I knew was just not a good fit. And then literally next door was the yes. So when I think about business and that resiliency you're talking about, I know that the yes is next door. So I just have to work through those.
Life in business is all about opportunities, right?
There you go. All about
Uh,
opportunity.
yeah, absolutely. And Alex, if they made your life into a movie, what do you think you would want the title of your life movie to be, my friend?
Oh, geez. You ask great questions. I'm not sure about this one. I think I don't know whether Relentless would be in the title in some way, because I think I've had, when I tell my life story, I've had a lot of ups and downs, and I try to inspire people with the fact that you can get kicked down and get back up. So but yeah, I think there are plenty of movies that have covered that pretty well. So I'm not sure, but I think Relentless. It might just be Relentless. Would be the name of the movie. I don't know, but that seems to embody my story pretty well.
Fair enough. And who would play you in the movie, my friend?
Oh, geez, that's a good one. You know, I've got kind of a man crush on what's his name, Henry Cavill, the guy who played Superman.
Of
So
course, yeah.
we need some like studly big guy to do it. So that'd be great.
Absolutely. Alex, my final question for you has to do about legacy, my friend, and how you want your legacy to be defined, both personally and professionally as well.
Well, it ties a little bit back to my 50 by 50, but less around money and more around. I'd love for people to say that their lives were better because they knew me, and whether that meant I inspired them in some way. I gave them an opportunity. I gave them a job that fulfilled them. I helped them build a business that fulfilled them and their employees. So the legacy on both business and personal for me would be that I made the people around me better and made their lives better. I mean that would be my goal for whatever that would mean. And if I can leave a lasting impact on my community, that would be great. I don't envision that there would be anything like really to memorialize that. I just think that if I can, as I interact with people and communicate with people and participate locally, if I can help people around me do just a little bit better, then there will be a lasting legacy there.
Yeah, absolutely. And Alex, tell me, if people want to get connected with you, my friend, what's the best way they can do that?
My website is berelentless.com. So berelentless.com. If you go on there and submit the form, it'll get to me eventually. That's a great way to connect. My email address is Alex, ALEX, at berelentless.com. So people can always email me if they wanted to. That'd be fine as well.
Fair enough, my friend. You've certainly made your impact in entrepreneurship, business, and impacting the lives of people, my friend. I know that I'm grateful that we had a chance to engage in conversation this afternoon, and I want to thank you for being here today. It's most appreciated.
Oh, man, it was a pleasure. I appreciate what you do, sharing these stories and watching your podcast and listening to your podcast. I've learned from some of your other speakers. So creating a format like this to share your story and other people's stories lifts a lot of people up. It's a great way to have an impact. So I appreciate what you do. Yeah, it's very thoughtful questions. So great job, buddy. And it was a pleasure chatting with you today as well.